Hey there, welcome back to the channel. Today, we're diving into a topic that is crucial to your success, mental well-being, and personal growth. The art of saying no. For some of us, saying no feels impossible. We feel guilty, or maybe we're afraid of disappointing others. Maybe you feel like you'll miss out on opportunities or fear rejection. But here's the truth. Learning to say no is one of the most powerful skills you can develop in your personal and professional life. Today, I'm going to show you how to master this skill. We'll talk about why it's so important to say no, when you should say no, and the strategies to say it effectively without burning bridges or feeling bad about it. So grab a notepad because you're about to learn something that could transform your life. Let's get started. Why saying no is essential. Let's start by talking about why saying no is so important. We often underestimate the value of saying no, but here are the reasons why mastering this art will change your life. First, when you say yes to everything, you're essentially saying no to yourself. You're saying no to your own priorities, to your own self-care, and to your personal goals. Every time you agree to take on one more thing that doesn't align with your values, you're giving away precious time and energy. Remember, you only have 24 hours in a day, and every yes takes a slice of that time. Second, saying no is essential for setting healthy boundaries. Boundaries are like invisible lines that protect your energy and your well-being. Without boundaries, people can overstep, and that's how you end up overworked, overwhelmed, and burned out. Saying no is how you define those lines. And third, saying no builds self-respect. Every time you set a boundary, you're telling yourself and others that your time is valuable. You're affirming that you are worth prioritizing. Here's an important quote to remember. The difference between successful people and really successful people is that really successful people say no to almost everything. Warren Buffett. This doesn't mean being rude or unhelpful. It means being selective. So, let's move forward and discuss when you should say no. Now that we understand why saying no is important, let's talk about when to say no. This can be tricky because we often feel torn between wanting to help others and needing to protect our own time and energy. Here's a simple framework you can use to decide whether to say yes or no. The 4Ds framework. 1. Does it align with your goals? Before you commit to anything, ask yourself, does this opportunity, task, or request align with my personal or professional goals? If it doesn't, it's an automatic no. 2. Do you have the time? If your schedule is already packed, saying yes to something new will inevitably push you toward burnout. It's better to say no now than to say yes and regret it later. 3. Does it energize or drain you? We all have different capacities. If saying yes to something is going to drain your energy without offering any real value to your life, then that's a sign you should say no. 4. Does it respect your boundaries? Finally, think about your personal boundaries. Does this request violate those boundaries? If so, it's time to protect your space by saying no. Let me give you an example. Let's say you've committed to working on a personal project, like learning a new skill or getting fit. A friend asks you to help with a project that doesn't interest you. You're already strapped for time, and this isn't going to help you meet your personal goals. In this case, it's important to politely decline, because saying yes would take away from your priorities. But what if you feel guilty about saying no? We'll talk about that next. Part 3. Overcoming the guilt of saying no. Host. You. Now, I know what you're thinking. But what if I feel guilty for saying no? Won't people think I'm selfish or uncaring? Let me address this guilt head-on. Feeling guilty for saying no is completely natural, but we need to shift that mindset. Saying no is not about rejecting the person. It's about honoring your limits and respecting your priorities. One of the most common fears people have is people-pleasing. We want to make everyone happy, and we fear that saying no will make others think less of us. But here's the truth. People will respect you more when you're clear about your boundaries. They will see that you value your time, and in turn, they'll learn to value it too. A great way to overcome guilt is to change your internal dialogue. Instead of thinking, "I'm letting them down," think, "I'm protecting my energy so I can give my best to the things that truly matter." You can't pour from an empty cup. If you say yes to everyone, eventually, you'll run out of energy for the things that matter most: your health, your relationships, and your personal growth. Here's a quick tip. Use empathy to communicate. You can acknowledge the person's feelings while still holding your boundary. For example, you might say, "I understand that this is important to you, but I'm unable to commit at this time." This way, you show understanding while staying true to your own needs. Let's move on to the next section where I'll give you some practical strategies to say no effectively without feeling bad. Part 4. How to say no effectively. Now, let's talk about the how. How do you say no without feeling awkward, guilty, or rude? Saying no can feel uncomfortable, but with the right techniques, you can deliver a no confidently, kindly, and firmly. Let me share with you 5 key strategies for saying no effectively. Strategy 1. Be direct but polite. The first and simplest way to say no is to be direct but polite. You don't have to dance around the issue. Simply state that you're unable to commit. Here's an example. "I really appreciate you thinking of me, but I'm going to have to decline. I have other priorities right now." Notice how you acknowledge their request but still firmly set your boundary. You don't need to over-explain or apologize excessively. Strategy 2. Offer an alternative. If you want to soften your no or still help in some way, offer an alternative solution. This shows that you are still willing to help, but in a way that fits your boundaries. For example, "I can't join the project, but I can recommend someone else who might be a great fit." This way, you are declining the main request but offering something of value, maintaining a positive relationship. Strategy 3. Use a delayed no. Sometimes, you might not be ready to give a straight-up no, especially if it's a complex situation. In these cases, use a delayed no. This gives you time to assess whether it's something you can commit to without feeling pressured. For instance, say, "Let me check my schedule and get back to you." This way, you're giving yourself breathing room to decide without immediately feeling the need to say yes. Strategy 4. Keep it simple. There's no need to offer lengthy explanations when you say no. In fact, the more you explain, the more likely the other person will try to negotiate. Just keep it simple. For example, "I'm unable to take this on right now. Thank you for understanding." That's it. No need to go into a detailed backstory. Keep your no short and to the point. Strategy 5. Use humor when appropriate. If you have a good relationship with the person, you can use humor to lighten the mood when saying no. This can make the refusal feel less harsh, especially in casual situations. For example, "I'd love to, but I'm already drowning in my own to-do list. Maybe next time." It shows that while you're declining, you're doing it in a lighthearted, friendly way. How saying no will transform your life. Here's a story from my own life. Share a personal story or example about how saying no helped you in a difficult situation. Maybe you had an opportunity to take on an extra project at work but chose to say no because it didn't align with your long-term goals. Or perhaps you said no to a social obligation that would have left you drained. That decision allowed you to focus on what was truly important, and in the end, you found more success, peace, and clarity. The power of saying no is that it opens doors to what truly matters. When you learn to say no to the wrong things, you're able to say yes to the right things. You'll feel less stressed, more focused, and more in control of your life. Saying no is how you create space for growth. It's how you set yourself up for success. Practice and build confidence in saying no. Now, like any skill, saying no takes practice. At first, it might feel uncomfortable or even a bit scary, but with time, it becomes easier. Here are a few ways you can build up your confidence. Start small. Practice saying no in low-stakes situations. For example, if someone asks for a favor that isn't urgent, practice saying no politely but firmly. These small steps will build your confidence. Role play scenarios. If you're really nervous about saying no, rehearse. Practice with a friend or even in front of a mirror. Get comfortable with how the words feel so that when the real moment comes, you're ready. Journal your progress. Keep track of situations where you've successfully said no. Write down how you felt before and after. You'll notice that each time you say no, you're strengthening your boundaries and protecting your well-being. Embrace the art of saying no. So, here's your challenge. Starting today, I want you to find one situation where you can say no. It could be a request from a colleague, a social obligation, or even something as simple as declining to take on an extra task that doesn't align with your goals. Just one time, say no and see how it feels. I promise you, it gets easier with practice. Remember, every time you say no to something that isn't right for you, you're saying yes to your own growth, your own priorities, and your own well-being. So, let's embrace the art of saying no, together, not with guilt or fear, but with confidence, clarity, and kindness. Thank you for watching, and if this video helped you, don't forget to hit the like button, share your thoughts in the comments, and subscribe for more content like this. Until next time, take care of yourself, protect your time, and remember you are in control of your own life.